Hello, this is Richard Lowe. I'm the writing king and ghostwriting guru, and I'm here on the Leaders in Their Stories podcast. I'm here with Catherine Bruce, who's going to talk about her new book and hypnotherapy and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So, Catherine, take it away.
Hi, Richard. Thank you for having me. And I know that's one of the first things they tell you not to say is thank you for having me, but thanks anyway. So I just completed my book. It was 5 years in the making, and I'll get a little bit into it as to why it took so long to do. The initial writing of the book was pretty quick. It's called Conversations with My Dead Husband. And 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, my husband passed away rather quickly from a glioblastoma.
Okay.
So the book is about how we met, how we created this life where, with joy, with gratitude, I built up the resilience to be able to get through that time. And then the conversations that he and I had, are they real? Are they imagined? I don't know.
You mean after he passed away?
After he passed away, the conversations we had after he passed away, when I
Okay.
would go on long walks and scream, curse, cry. That's the usual MO for having lost someone so close to you. And I would ask all kinds of questions, everything from where did you put the blank to how do I flippin' use the remote control on the TV? And surprisingly, I would get these download inspirations. His famous joke was, I'm not teaching you how to use the remote. It's a very complicated system. He built computers. He built the sound system. He built the whole entertainment system. And he would say to me, I'm not showing you how to use the remote because then you won't need me anymore. So I needed to learn how to use the remote. There were a lot of things to turn off and on, and even more intense questions. Where are you? Will I see you again? Why can't God turn back time? God can do anything. Why can't God turn back time so we can catch this and know to have more years together? So it's the conversations that I've had, the magical things that happen. I have a light over my desk. This used to be his office. I have a light over my desk that just turns on sometimes. And there's the whole story in the book about that. And the goal of the book is not to have you believe that there's life after death or we go someplace or anything else. The goal of the book is to say to people, if you've lost a loved one, if you've lost a pet, and you think you catch it out of the corner of your eye, you think you hear the voice of your loved one, and then you dismiss it because people will say you're crazy or that's not true, that's on them. That's not on you.
Yep.
And one of the most comforting things as a widow going through this journey, and for many widows that I know, is the idea that there is some piece of them, some piece of the person that passed away that's still right there with you.
I know what you mean. My late
Yeah.
wife, I'm a widower also.
Okay.
My late wife passed away about 18 years ago, and it was a long illness, 8 years long, very, very harsh
I'm
one.
so sorry.
It happens. I've had a lot of therapy on it and went through the same thing. I would go to the Arboretum and just talk to her, and it seemed to help. I don't know whether I was talking to her, I was talking to a figment of my imagination, or I was talking to a butterfly. A lot of butterflies there, but I understand. And first, I must be bonkers because I'm talking to somebody who's not there. They're there in one form or another. There's at least they're there in my mind.
Right.
And could be a projection. It could be something. I mean, it was very interesting. I didn't have any of the issues you had where like, how to do the remote and stuff. Mine was more of like, why the hell did you do this kind of thing, anger, depression, the whole gamut of emotions until finally I came to terms with it. And
Right.
then I didn't need to talk to her anymore.
And in coming to terms with it, it makes it a lot harder if you're forcing yourself to fall in line and it's just your imagination, or you're saying to yourself, well, I really need to be quiet about this, or I can't express this emotion, or this can't be happening to me. And then you just push down, push down, push down. That works against the healing process?
Well, I'm a guy, and guys, obviously, and guys don't show emotions. My dad used to beat me every time I cried because, I'll give you a reason to cry, son. And I would literally get a lead pipe or a stick against me. So I learned not to cry. In fact, at the funeral, Saddam gave a speech. I didn't cry a bit, not a single tear. But then when my cat passed away 2 weeks later, oh, that was the last straw.
Exactly.
I just lost it. In the middle of a business meeting, the vet calls me and I was out. I mean, everybody's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm going home. But you're in. Oh, and then they looked at my face, said, but you're in. Oh, gotcha.
Exactly.
And yeah, I shove all my emotions right here. And the heart is probably not a good place to shove them.
We compartmentalize in order to deal with things. And we often, if it's someone who's close to us, a parent, a child, a spouse, we feel like we have to compartmentalize even more because we're comforting everybody else. And comforting everybody else is not entirely great for us. Allowing other people to comfort us is really good. It's a good, healthy thing. We're taught not to show emotion. I too got the, as a female, don't cry. I'll give you a reason to cry.
Yep. So you know the
When
drill.
my father died, it was, don't cry. This is all about your mother.
Right.
I'm 11.
I've heard that too.
I'm 11.
I got that too. This isn't about you, son. This is about XYZ.
Exactly. So we need to make it a little bit about ourselves. We always need to put our own oxygen mask on first, as our wonderful flight attendants remind us every time we get on the plane. And when you think that statement through, you really begin to see how important self-care is.
Yes.
The automatic reaction is, no. If I have a child, I have to put the oxygen mask on them first. No, they can wait half a second. If while you're putting it on them, they freak out and panic, then neither one of you has a mask on.
What does the stewardess say? You put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then everybody else. And that's so that you're not helping anybody if you pass out.
Exactly. So the book, my hope with the book is to inspire, to allow people to say, you know what? I'm not listening to everyone around me. I'm not going to heed their words of how I should behave in this situation. And if our upbringing had us not cry, or if we just didn't feel like crying at the moment, numb is pretty much the only emotion many of us feel when something of that magnitude happens. We shouldn't beat ourselves up afterwards.
My grandfather passed away in 1978, and my parents drove us all the way to Texas. He didn't die just then, came back, and then my dad went and he passed away, came back. I felt no emotion, and I didn't show any emotion. My dad was very upset and got a few hits. And it's like, even at that age, which was in my teens, like, Dad, you're giving me mixed messages here, emotion or not. I mean, your grandfather died. I barely knew him. And you didn't even bring me out because it would be too frightening for the kids. It's like, so I didn't get to see him. And would I cry? I didn't know him. He was a stranger.
Right.
And you told me not to cry, ever.
Our parents do, the people around us do the best we can with what we have. And, that's all we can ask of them. And now it's up to us to say, well, how do I want to feel? The book is the product of the work I did before he passed away and the work I did on myself with the help of so many others after. And I said, it took 5 years. It didn't take that long to write. The first really rough draft of the book came about just all on a piece of paper. And at that time, my minister, and she had lost her husband 2 years prior. I guess she's still my minister. She just doesn't run a church anymore. Her husband had passed away 2 years prior, almost to the day of my husband's passing. And the two men were friends. So it was interesting watching that turn of events. And Reverend Michelle said, be sure to jot down every appearance. If somebody tells you that he did something, if you experience something, write it down. And I did. And that's a big part of the book, is that you experience these things. Again, whether you've created them, whether you're adding more meaning to something that, lights going on in my office, doesn't matter. Does the thought that it is this person give you comfort? Yes. So After writing the book and sending it to an editor who edited most of it, sent it back to me, I went and sat down and went through the edits. And I got past page 2 and I was just this ball of jello crying. And this happened constantly. And this happened for a couple of years. And as a hypnotherapist, as somebody who works with neuro-linguistic programming with my clients, you think I would say to myself, Catherine, maybe you should do some self-hypnosis. Nah, thought never occurred to me, because as big as the emotions are, they're comforting in a way. And so I am part of a mastermind, and my mentor just said, well, why don't we do hypnosis around it? Okay, that makes all the sense in the world now that you said it out loud. I did the work. We did a session, and at the end of our session, I pulled it up on my computer and read through it and was able to make changes and start the process all over again. So
Nice.
there's more to writing a book, I guess, and you're the book writer, not me. There is more to writing a book than just the writing of the book. There's everything that goes around with it. And sometimes you have to think unconventionally about, how do I get over this hump? I can imagine, how do I get over this?
Yes, it can be. Well, sometimes I run into projects that are very emotional for the client. One of them, her parents sold her into, what kind of slavery when she was 14 years old. And she spent 15, 20 years in that. And then finally she ran into a Christian guy who got her out, and they got married and had kids. She's doing really well. So she wanted to write a book about that. We couldn't get through it. Finally I said, look, I'm not your therapist. I'm a ghostwriter. And much as I'd like to finish this with you, I think, and she said, yeah, we need to stop. And that's where it was. We couldn't go anymore because it was just too emotional, and she didn't have a way to turn it off. And I didn't want to leave her like crying ball of tears after every session.
Right.
That's not my job.
Right. No, it's not. That's my job. No.
Well, not to leave her that way. Hopefully you get her out of it.
No. And so hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, it's all the things that your unconscious mind hears and programs whenever it programmed them, and then reacts that way. So I don't know for sure that if I had done self-hypnosis, it would have worked, but somebody else doing it for me definitely worked.
Sure.
Just, what is the emotion around this? And can you pull something out of it that will make it positive? Just turning off the reaction to the emotion and not burying it the way, your father, my brother, who pretty much raised me as a father figure after my dad passed away, saying, don't cry. I'll give you a reason, I'll give you a reason to cry. That's not what we want to do with the emotion. We want to show our brains that it's okay to react in a more positive way.
Uh-huh.
This thing happened. Absolutely. This thing hurts. Absolutely. And we have the ability to react in a way that is kinder to ourselves and works better for our lives.
We can change our reactions to things,
Yes.
or at least we might have the reaction, but we can back up from that, be in a bad situation and then just maybe talk to somebody, see your pastor. Whatever turns you on, go do it. And to get out of it, not whatever turns you on, whatever helps you through it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've written a book, and you're a hypnotherapist and neurodiversity,
Neurolinguistic
programming person, and that's very good. I'm glad to see you've written a book. I know how hard it is. Believe me, I've written well over 100 in 11 years, and I'm working on my own book right now, which is the Ghostwriting Advantage. It's all about how to put from the client side about ghostwriting. I haven't found any of those, so I said, I better write one. And I thought it was going to be 30,000 words. I'm up to 60, and I'm finishing it on Sunday, so I have a time limit. So I worked all day on it today, except for these podcasts. And it's interesting because I'm kind of going back through the various emotional things that happen. Ghostwriting can be very emotional, and going through all of that again and taking a look at it again. And what could I have done better, when I was first starting out and stuff, from that to now. Certainly I've improved a lot. And you know how hard it is to write a book? And you did it on your own. You didn't have any real help other than the editor.
No.
And editors is essential, by the way. I've found editors they're very cool. It's not something that I do. I'm a ghostwriter, not an editor.
Right.
They're different.
And I didn't didn't know what an editor did because I thought editing, proofreading.
Exactly.
Nope. You need a proofreader too. There's a
Proofreader.
lot of moving parts.
Well, you can find an editor who does everything and edit, proofreading, grammar checking, line editing, content editing, all kinds of editing. The one I have does it all. And she'll go through the whole book, and it takes her a while, but it comes out better. And they're not paid, they don't cost very much in comparison to a ghostwriter. They don't cost much at all. So it's very interesting. Well, do you have any final words for our listeners?
Your emotions are important. Your emotions are yours and yours alone. Don't let anyone tell you how to feel about anything. When the reaction of your emotions get in the way, that's when you want to maybe talk to someone, therapist, a hypnotherapist. There's so many people out there that can help you heal the reaction of the emotions. Don't ever let anyone tell you how to feel about anything.
Right. But you can control your reactions. You can control the way you act.
Yes.
And that's kind of the important thing, I think.
Exactly.
Well, very good. How can people reach you?
The website for the book is www.conversationswithmydeadhusband.com. They can also reach me through my hypnosis, Dissolving Grief, and Inner Resilience. Both of those websites one is more about the hypnosis, one is more about the specific grief work, grief recovery work that I do.
Okay. And on LinkedIn, of course.
And on LinkedIn, of course.
Yes.
Catherine Napoli, Napoli Bruce.
Very good.
Spelled like the name. Spelled like Springsteen, I like to say.
I'm Richard Lowe. This has been the Leaders in Their Stories podcast. I'm the Writing King and Ghostwriting Guru, and you can reach me at thewritingking.com or ghostwriting.guru. And I hope you all have a great day, and I hope this was enjoyable to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.